What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? A long-awaited collaboration begins. I'm here with Paul Lee, a fellow YouTuber, fellow content creator. You know, we have a lot of similarities. We both come from Asian American backgrounds that have moved and domiciled, expatriated over here in Thailand for going on, what, 3 years?
Yep, 3 years.
3 years. You know, I've been seeing all my comments about, me and Paul should do a video together. We've seen each other's content over the years, and I figured, why not? Let's do something fun and do something interesting for you guys. I figured in this video, we'll talk about Paul and his journey of moving here to Bangkok, Thailand, the reasons why, a lot of the motivations, current plans, potentially future plans. When I first met Paul, I thought he was around my age, maybe 5-6 years older than me, but you are actually... But you are actually no, because no offense, no offense, because generally most expats that move over here are a lot older than myself. They're usually late 30s, 40 plus.
Yeah.
So when I come across people in their mid 20s moving over here, that's usually way out of the norm because Thai expats usually attract a much older crowd, more closer to the middle age. So if you don't mind disclosing, how old are you?
Yeah, I'm just 27 years old.
He's only 27 years old, and he's already made a life here in Thailand. When I was 27 years old, I didn't know what the hell I was doing. So he's definitely much more mature for his age than I was back in 27. Without further ado, Paul, can you give us a quick backstory about where you're originally from, your upbringing, and what led you to eventually making the move over to Thailand?
Yeah, so I was born from a very small, poor city in Macon, Georgia. It was actually named one of the most dangerous cities in America, like, statistically, which is pretty crazy. And I had always grown up in a very poor family, and I always wanted to just strive for the top. Just strive to try to get as much money as possible, try to move to the big city. And I always had these dreams as a young kid. So I'd always to just try to, do good in school, just try to work very hard. And eventually I stumbled upon entrepreneurship, did that whole route, started a couple businesses. And eventually I was able to make some money and find a little bit of success. And it was always my dream to just constantly elevate myself in terms of socioeconomic status, in terms of mostly that. And I had moved all the way to New York City, and I had felt man, I had achieved my dreams. This is everything that I ever wanted as a kid. I have money now, I have friends, I'm living in the big city. I'm living this kind of lavish lifestyle. And I had thought that this is it. This is as good as it gets. New York is the peak, right? That's the kind of mindset I was having at the time. And this was around 21 years old, 22 years old or something. So I had to get to that point of achieving my dream and going to New York and living this kind of lifestyle for me to realize, wow, this is actually not what I wanted at all. And I was not only that, but I was actually feeling more emptier than ever, because when I was a kid, I had a lot of hope and I had a lot of ambition. I was the prize is right there. I just, my focus was right there. I just had to keep working hard, just pursue that one big dream. But when I was at New York, I was wow, I'm technically already here. I already have the money. I already have somewhat of freedom and friends and things like that. But I was yeah, wow, I feel nothing. So I had to make a drastic shift. And the environment I was in, the people I were hanging out with, the lifestyle I was living in New York was very not healthy, not sustainable. So I was man, I need a big shift. I need a big change. Did some research, figured out why not visit Thailand. Came here, and then the rest has been history. Yep.
For somebody that's usually 21 or 22 and they move to a A-list metropolitan city like New York, it's usually a dream come true for somebody that young to go through, and you were able to do it. But I mean, what was it? What was it specifically? Was it the partying? Was it the people? I would assume they're superficial. Was it the superficial people that you met? What were these things that you came into realization that this isn't what it's all cracked out to be? And then what was it that you were doing that eventually your business that led you make the move out to New York?
Yeah. So I have a background in e-commerce, and I actually like made some videos, and I was like a content creator before about e-commerce. So I did make a name for myself in that regard. But so that's essentially how I succeeded in business with e-commerce. Um, but yeah, when I was in New York, it was the time of my life at the beginning. You know, I was naive, I was fresh. I was like, man, this beautiful city, like going to Times Square and living on nice rooftops, all those kinds of stuff. Um, and yeah, it's just in New York, you kind of get swallowed into the hole of always wanting more, like wanting more status, wanting more money, wanting to wear more jewelry and like these status approval seeking like fashion, just always wanting to like make face and always trying to compete. And it's like you're doing all these things to like try to impress other people or to try to strive to the top, but there's no real reason why that's even a worthy goal. Like for me, I'd be like buying like luxury items and stuff. I'm like, I don't know why I'm doing this. I was never really like that as a kid. Never really cared much about that, but it's like I kind of got swallowed into that. And then of course like the drugs and the excessive partying and that can very easily be tempting because everybody does it in New York. You know, you'll go to a party and then you know these people look upstanding, these people look ordinary, and then they're just like doing a bunch of drugs in the living room. And I was like, when I first came to New York, I was like, wow, like I've never seen that. I never did drugs and stuff as a kid, even as a teenager. Didn't really do it in college either, so it was like a big change for me. And I feel like I just got swallowed up into that kind of environment. And then just the excessive competition, just like never feeling like you have enough. In New York, you never have enough money. You know, it's like you need to make like $10 million a year or something. $10 million is like what people strive for to live like a very good lifestyle there. So it's like you're never going to reach that level, and you just have to constantly slave away. Even though you're probably making a lot of money to even be able to live in New York, it's still like you feel like you don't have enough. So I was like, I actually have enough. If I just move somewhere else, I have enough. You know, I don't need to live here. So those are the kinds of thoughts that I had. Yeah.
So eventually, from what it sounds like, just living a very ultra competitive, superficial, face competitive lifestyle, that you eventually made your trip over to Thailand. Can you walk us through your experiences of first coming here to Thailand and then eventually leading, you know, coming to the realization like, hey, let me potentially get out of New York City and live in a different country, in a different environment?
Yeah. Yeah, so I originally had just came here for a vacation, you know, just like a temporary trip, and then I came here during COVID, right? So I had to deal with the 14-day quarantine. I had to do all that stuff, and it was closed at the time. But still, when I came here, I was like, man, this is a different lifestyle. Like this was my first time in Asia, and to be surrounded by everybody that kind of looks like me, like Asians, yeah, it was really very like refreshing, and the people were so nice, and I just felt very at peace here, you know. And it was during COVID, so I didn't really experience the entirety of what Thailand could offer, but nonetheless, I still really, really enjoyed it. And yeah, so I stayed here for about 3 months. Eventually, had to return back to the States for like my sister's wedding. And yeah, while I was in the States, I was back in New York. I was crashing at my friend's place, and I was like, what next? What am I doing here? Like, I was like, why do I have to stay here? What obligations do I have here in New York? And I was like, I have no obligation to stay here, no reason to stay here. And I was like, you know, I felt pretty happy in Thailand. Why don't I just live this kind of digital nomad lifestyle, try something new and fresh? And that was my goal at the beginning, to become like a digital nomad, hop through different Asian places and whatever. But I just really loved Thailand, so I decided to base myself there. And yeah, it's been 3 years since.
What was the reaction from your family and your friends wanting to leave New York and move over here to Thailand? They must have thought you were effing crazy, yeah?
I mean, to be honest, I didn't really tell any of my friends. I just dipped. Like, I didn't really like have a huge, you know, goodbye or whatever. Honestly, I just dipped. And with my family, however, I told them I was going to Thailand, and they're like, why are you going to Thailand? Like, they had the perception, like the kind of older generation perception of Thailand, that it's very third world, that it's like dirty, and then there's just a bunch of prostitutes everywhere, and like that's all they thought of Thailand, you know. And then also I'm Korean, you know, so like why would I go to Thailand before I even went to Korea, you know? But you know, they still know that I'm here, and as long as I'm happy, it's fine.
Well, I mean, I just take it that the older generation perceived Thailand back in, 70s, 80s, 90s, but, they didn't have any idea that for the past 15 years, this country has come up quite, grew quite fast economically, their tourism and everything that's going on. Leaving New York, coming over here to Thailand, and getting settled over here, what were some of the great things that you loved about getting settled over here? Any challenges, like pros and cons in regards to, let's say, your first couple of months here after settling from New York?
When I first came here, I can't really think of any cons because I was like, man, I just love the city. I had that fresh mindset, and everything was completely new to me. But the things that I loved was just being surrounded by an environment where everybody is literally nice to you. You know, it's like in New York, you'll see the extremes of everybody. You know, you'll see homeless people, just like dangerous people. You'll see like just everybody's just kind of selfish. Everybody, it's just like a dog eats dog world in that kind of environment in New York and in a lot of parts in America as well. But yeah, to live in this like collectivist society where everybody's like kind of looking after each other, like that right there was like, wow, this is like, it doesn't seem like much, you know, to live in a society where everybody's nice, but that's what makes a society, like that's what makes the society, you know? So it was that, and then the food was absolutely amazing. Like just even to this day, I still think Thai food is probably my top favorite food, actually. I think it's up there. And when I first came to Thailand, I was a single guy, so I was like, the women here, oh my gosh, like they're just some of the most beautiful women I've ever seen, you know? Like in America, you'll go to a mall or you'll go somewhere, and yeah, there are some good-looking women, you know, like, but it's rare that you'll see like every woman that looks like a 10 out of 10. Here in Thailand, it's common. You just go to a restaurant, go to a bar, literally every single woman just so beautiful. It's absolutely crazy. So that was one of the first like shocks when I first came here into Thailand. And yeah, and then as I lived here more and more, I realized there was a huge expat community. So it's not me just here by myself as a foreigner, just kind of trying to, you know, feeling kind of lost and feeling kind of like exotic or something. It's like, no, there's so many people here that are just like me that I can connect with, that I have a lot in common with, and that do businesses that are focused on health and just like a lot of good, positive things. So I was like, man, this is really somewhere I could live here long term. Yeah.
I think you and I shared a lot of commonalities of wanting to leave the West, leaving America because of a lot of, just the way things are being, the lifestyle that's being run, a lot of morality, just the lifestyle of the culture in America. But with how things are becoming more and more globalized with our economy, with social media, et cetera, and the reasons that we left America to come over to here in Thailand, where people are just much more, it's a calm, collective society. Everybody's looking out for each other, especially dating. Even though you'll find a 10 out of 10 woman, she's not going to be stuck up. She still resembles a lot of family values, and she's very respectful. Can you see Thailand becoming something similar to Western society?
Oh man, that's a big question. As I see it, I think Thailand will become more and more global in the sense that, tourists are not going to stop coming. Expats are not going to stop living here, If anything, it's going to be more and more and more. And Bangkok, where we're living at right now, is hugely international. You have like so many Chinese people, Koreans, Americans, Europeans. So it's kind of getting international. In terms of like the globalization and in terms of like the Western kind of wokeism and propaganda and all that stuff kind of infecting here, I think the West has a grip on the entire world, to be honest. So I think it's inevitable that some of that stuff is going to come here. Us as foreigners, we're not really exposed to like the Thai news and like the Thai Twitter and how people talk to each other, and like, because we're just foreigners, we're not really in that kind of ecosystem, but it is there, It's like you have a lot of those kind of crazy political, like just very triggered, sensitive people, even in Thailand. Um, so I think inevitably it will grow, but I don't think it's going to be nowhere near as dominant as it is in the West, where everybody literally hates each other. Everybody just fails to realize that we're all like in this together. You know, we're all living on this world together. We're all kind of similar to each other. It doesn't matter like what your political beliefs are. It's like, you know, in the West, like nobody even looks at that. You could be your best friend, but if you support the other political party or if you didn't get the shot, then it's just like, oh, well, I'm not your friend anymore. You know, it's like that. It's the Western people. It's like they're so quick to think like that. I don't think it's gonna be nowhere near as that bad as here in Thailand. I don't think it's gonna get to that point. Um, but inevitably, I think the West will have a grip on Thailand eventually. But I guess it's just up to us to fight it and rebel against it. Yeah.
That's a good answer. Good answer. Coming up on 3 years of living here in Thailand, what are some of the drastic changes that you've seen about yourself after living here for a couple years? It could be anything. Maybe a change in personality, maybe a change in finances, a change of lifestyle. What are some things that you've noticed after being here compared to before you moved over out here?
Yeah, so in New York, it's very consumerist and very materialist, and it's very status based. So it's like you're always trying to impress people, you're always trying to buy the latest Gucci bag or something like that. So yeah, I feel like I was quite materialistic back in New York, and I had never grown up materialistic in like my whole entire life until I got to New York, and where it like infected me with that materialism, consumerist mindset. And then when I came to Thailand, all that just completely faded away. Like I don't even care what I wear anymore. I don't care about like, you know, status and trying to like be cool and be popular and things like that. Like in New York, I kind of cared about that stuff for some reason, but here it's just like I don't care at all. Like I'm at peace. I have a good amount of friends. I'm not trying to like network and trying to like be popular and like whatever. So yeah, I think I don't care as much as I did about what people think of me. And in Thailand, I feel like I'm a lot more content. You know, I don't really seek out trying to be as wealthy as possible anymore. Whereas in New York, I'd always be thinking about how do I make more money? How do I start a new business? Here it's just like, how do I continuously sustain what I'm doing? You know, of course, make more and more, you know, but it's nowhere near as like, has a stronghold grip on me. You know, it's like I'm fine and I'm comfortable. I don't have to like go to the top. I don't have to continuously strive up this like this imaginary ladder, you know? And so that how that translates is that I'm more at peace, I'm a lot happier, and I'm a lot thankful for what I have.
Even though we live in Bangkok, and I know with the whole HISO scene over here, everybody's trying to compete with each other. They're trying to compete about who has the next LV bag or Christian Dior. You don't think that you're ever going to fall into that mode?
Nah, I mean, because I don't really have that many HISO friends either, and most of my friends are like expats, so I don't think I'm gonna really get into that kind of environment. But you know, but it's like I've already tasted that, and I think I'm mature now enough to realize that's not for me. That doesn't fulfill me, and it's just a game that I don't have to play. You know, it's like a game that people participate in, and they get addicted to that game, but you don't have to participate. You know, so I don't think I'm gonna fall down into that. Yeah.
Right on. Good answer. I think one thing I noticed is that I think a lot of the expats that move out here, they've tasted, for the most part, they've tasted that back home, you know, of consumerism, status climbing, etc. And they've said, F it, we're done with this. We can just come over here and just relax a little bit. Whereas more, I think here, especially in the Bangkok scene, everybody's, you know, amongst like Thais, the HISO crowd, they're always trying to climb up. Why Thailand over your ancestral homeland of Korea? You recently came back from a trip to Korea for the first time.
Yeah, just 3 days.
Just 3 days.
Yeah, so that's a good question. You know, I never went to Korea before I came to Thailand, and my whole entire life was born from America, and then I came to Thailand before I had ever went to Korea. The reason I chose Thailand initially is because the number one thing was affordability. You know, I was like, I want to live in a nice place that's affordable. And I felt like Korea was probably quite expensive living in Seoul. So that's like the biggest determinant and why I chose Thailand over Korea. And then also I was always kind of like fearful of going to Korea because growing up as a Korean American, I feel like I didn't really fit in with like the white kids and then I still didn't really fit in with like the Koreans, you know. So I was kind of like in this weird blend, and I feel like if I went to Korea, I would be ostracized, I would be judged, and my Korean's not like 100% fluent either, so I feel like I'd kind of not be able to fit in. And knowing the Korean culture, Koreans can be quite judgmental and kind of cliquey. So it's like, you know, if we don't know you, we're not really going to try to talk to you. Like, you know, why are you talking to us? Kind of that mindset. Not because they're mean, but maybe it's because they're more reserved or it's just not culturally normal to do that. Yeah, so I did have a little bit of fear and resistance to going there. My biggest fear was like going to Korea and then being like, why am I here? Like, you know, nobody cares that I'm here. I'm not making any friends. I feel kind of lonely. Like that was always my biggest fear. And I had that a little bit of that fear coming to Thailand, but I did know one friend out here, and I did know that there were a lot of expats out here, and I did know that Thai people are generally very nice. So it's like, let's try Thailand, and yeah. But I don't know if I'll ever move to Korea, you know, actually live in Korea. That is a side of me that I would like to explore, to be more cultured in terms of my Korean side. But for now, I'm just enjoying my life in Thailand. Yeah.
All right, final question. This is going to be two-pronged. So, number one, either one or a few advices for people interested in domiciling here in Thailand, becoming an expat, living here long term. And then the second part, what's the future of Paul Lee? What are some current goals? And then where do you see yourself in the future? It could be from 5 years from now, 10 years from now, your life here in Thailand.
So for the first question, any advice that I would have towards foreigners or people thinking about living here, it would be to develop a routine, you know? Like don't live in Thailand and as if you're like on this vacation, like crazy vacation, like drinking all the time, going to bars, trying to pick up as many chicks as possible, like trying to become debaucherous. Because Thailand, it can be quite tempting to get sucked into that world. There are a lot of men who do that. Not to judge them, but it's just like if you want to live a nice, long-term, sustainable lifestyle here, I'd say build a routine. You know, have some habits, have a way to make some money here, have a sense of like where you want to live and the places you want to go, and just try to like plan out everything. Like try to have a good, nice, healthy routine. I'd say that's the number one advice. Number two would be like try to pick up some of the language. You know, I see so many foreigners here. I feel like Thailand is notorious for this, for the amount of foreigners who have lived here for 5, 10, 20 years, who have Thai wives and kids, and they don't even know any Thai. I'm just like, you know, how did they do it, you know? I don't know. But yeah, to each their own. But I think Thailand would be a lot better experience if you actually could connect with the locals in their language, 100%. Now, in terms of like the goals, man, to be honest, before in New York, I would always think about what are my goals? Like, what are these goals that I have to cross off the list? Nowadays, I hardly ever think about goals. And it might seem counterintuitive, but I never think in terms of goals. Like, I don't have any particular goals at all. Like, when I was in New York, I was always thinking, how do I, you know, achieve $1 million or like, how do I achieve X, Y, Z? But it's like, how do I continuously do what I'm doing and do it better and do it more? Like, that's all I think about. Like, when I wake up, I just do what I should do, be healthy, connect with friends, have relationships, and that's it. Like that's all I think on a daily basis. I don't think in terms of like next year I want to be at this point, in 5 years I want to be at this point. It's just like, how do I keep doing what I'm doing? And then if ever I'm like, okay, I should steer direction, I should pivot, or this is not working out, then I'll do those decisions as they come. But I'm not thinking in terms of like, you know, I gotta have this goal or I'm not complete or yeah, I don't think in terms of that. Yeah.
It's actually quite refreshing to hear because even though I've been here for coming up on 3 years now, I still have that goal setting kind of ingrained where I have to have X amount of dollars as my net worth. I have to have X amount of subscribers. When I think a better goal would be, you know what, let's see how you can improve a little bit every day, like at a time, and you know just keep going. So it's more a lot of flexibility. Would you say it's more of a marathon mindset?
Yeah, definitely. Just focus on the journey, you know, not so much the destination. The destination will come inevitably, you know. But when that destination comes, there's always a new destination. So it's like you're never actually achieving that goal. You know, I feel like if I were to You know, I feel like if I were to have my goal be like 1 million subscribers, at the time I'm almost there, the goal of 1 million subscribers is already diminished. The goal would be 5 million at that point. So it's like, it's just an illusion, I think. It's just as long as you're enjoying the journey, focusing on the journey, then that's enough. Yeah.
Really good. Awesome. Happy to hear that. Happy to hear that. It's definitely something I personally need to be reminded of from time to time, you know, to help me be more grounded. Hopefully you guys got a lot of great information from Paul here. Went from New York all the way over here to Bangkok, Thailand now, and you're still striving to make the most out of your journey.
Close.
So that's pretty much it, folks. I just want to thank Paul for taking the time out of his schedule to kind of sit down and kind of let us into his personal journey, you know, his life from New York over to here to Thailand and what his plans are. Before we conclude this video, Paul, where can the people find you?
You can check out my YouTube. It's Paul Lee, and then Instagram at I'm Paul Lee.
I'm going to have all his socials linked on the description down below. Check out Paul, check out his channel, his Instagram. It's great stuff. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace. Take care. Bye.